It's been over a year since I bought the PS5 Slim, and if you are considering picking one up in the big 2026, there are a few things that you should know about it. In my time with the console, I've platinumed a few titles, I've played through some pretty long gaming sessions, and I've lived with it long enough now to know what is good about it, what could be annoying, and whether or not it's still worth picking one up in 2026. Alright, so the console I bought was the 30th anniversary edition, and putting that aside, it is fundamentally still a slim console, and it's been pretty great. I've put it through some long gaming sessions, chasing a few platinum trophies, and while it does generate heat, I haven't experienced any issues with overheating. I do a few things to manage this though. I always have it positioned in open spaces, I dust it down every few days and occasionally open up the side covers to clean down the fans. Doing this will all help prevent the console from sounding like the PS4 did a few years after. And while there is an ongoing debate to this day online about positioning your console vertically or horizontally, I've had it vertically for over the year and I haven't had any issues of overheating or shutting down, even after leaving the console on for 24 hours to get that one trophy for the Stanley Parable Platinum. This could have something to do with the apparently improved liquid metal heatsink system in the Slim consoles. Another aspect improving over time is the PS Plus catalog, which does require a subscription. I subbed to the premium tier or deluxe as it's known in Australia and caught up on a lot of great titles. Going into 2026, PS Plus has an incredible lineup of exclusive titles, a lot of strong AAA games, and some amazing indie gems. This service has a lot of value for newcomers if you've never played these titles. There's also access to the classics catalog with titles from previous gen consoles, and you get game trials where you can play essentially demos of certain titles for a limited time. The only thing that really sucks about PS Plus, unlike Xbox Game Pass, PS Plus does not add their own exclusives as day one releases, or really any other day one releases for that matter either. While you do need the service to play online, there are lower tiers available at cheaper prices if you aren't into the game catalogs. Speaking of which, the subscription service has seen a price increase in the last year, but if you are lucky enough to renew your annual subscription during a sale period like Black Friday and Days of Play events, it won't be that big of a difference. It was less than 10 Australian dollars more for premium when the sale hit. But once you play through all the exclusives on PS Plus and every other game you find interesting, now whether that takes you, 1 or 2 years, it will be hard to justify premium value if PlayStation don't make some serious changes to their offering. So I hope that they continue to improve the service. Now, guys, if you are enjoying this video, please leave a like and subscribe, as it really does help the channel as we are on our road to 5K with our growing community. Alright, another debate when it comes to the PS5 Slim, and actually it's a pretty important decision you need to make, is whether you go disc or digital. As a physical media lover, I purchased a disc drive to what was originally a digital console so I can grow my physical game collection, but also so I can play my older PS4 titles. I also love the feeling and experience of just opening games and popping discs into the console. I guess it just reminds me of simpler times. But having PS Plus made me come to appreciate digital gaming in a way I didn't think was possible. There is a huge convenience advantage to digital gaming. Playing games without needing to change game discs every time you want to switch titles is, to be honest, it's pretty good. And bring a PlayStation Portal into the mix, having digital titles means more games you can play handheld. Plus, with the latest Portal update, you can play games in your library without the need of a console, and having access to a larger digital library becomes more convenient. But we don't have access to this feature in Australia, so I can't say for sure that physical copies of games in your library will not work, but that is what my research has led me to. Another advantage of going digital is that the initial cost of the console is marginally cheaper at $500 US, 480 British pounds and 750 Australian dollars, compared to the disc version at 550 US, 480 pounds sterling and 830 Australian. But there are other factors to consider, such as cost of games. At least in Australia, at time of release of new games, they are often cheaper as physical copies at local retailers than digital copies on the PS Store. Now, this could be because of sales, price matching, or competition between retailers. But even though disc consoles have higher upfront costs, games are often cheaper, and you can always resell a game you've finished to get back some of your costs. But an important thing to consider with all of that, while installing games on disc consoles, while copying, if your console goes into sleep mode, it does stop the installation process, so you do need to be careful of that. The digital consoles do not get affected by this. In fact, you can still install digital games to either console while even in rest mode, which you can all do through the PS app. Look, overall, I've shifted to a more hybrid approach of gaming, and you can too by buying a disc version of the console. You can still buy physical games at often better prices, or to grow your collection like I do, but you can also play digital titles from the PS Store and PS Plus. Anyway, over the last year, Sony have pushed a lot of various updates to the console, but they've made two quality updates that I think are worth noting. The first is permanently bringing back older gen console themes to the PS5. The PS2 was my favorite console growing up, so I rocked that theme for a while. And the second update was enabling multi-device connection of the DualSense controller, enabling you to pair up to 4 devices to one controller. So you could pair it to your console, your PC, your Mac, your phone, or even another console without having to repair again back to your main console, all paired through Bluetooth and assigned to each action button. Now beyond all of this, you can customize your PS5 to your liking with the Welcome Hub and the accessories. The Welcome Hub is like your dashboard where you can select which tiles you want to see and arrange them in a layout that you find appealing. There are also now a few animated wallpapers, both of PlayStation artwork and of some pretty big titles on the platform. And as far as the accessories go, there is so much that you can choose from, but the basics include console faceplates, where you can change the entire outer shell of the console from different colors to some pretty cool limited edition options, which do sell fast, so you need to be quick with these. And then there's the different and matching designs with DualSense controllers. I've got a few here from collections that I personally like, and I do use all of them. Actually, let's take a look at the DualSense controller. I still remember the first time when I played Spider-Man Miles Morales with it, and being blown away by everything that you can feel in the hands while playing. The DualSense has features which are called adaptive triggers and haptic feedback. Haptic feedback, it's basically an enhanced version of rumbling controllers, but it's got a lot more precision and control to everything that you feel. And the adaptive triggers for the R2 and L2 buttons let you incrementally control and feel everything in game, like every brake or acceleration while driving and every web swing while swinging through New York City. Look, there's even a thing in games like Astrobot where you blow into the gamepad's microphone to simulate wind in the games. It's very fun, and it's all designed to provide more immersion during gameplay. Some people call it gimmicky, but I think it's a great selling point to the PS5. However, it does come with drawbacks, and battery life is one of the biggest things. So going back to accessories, one that comes in real handy is a DualSense charging dock. It's relatively cheap at around $30 and it's just a convenient way to keep your controllers charged up, as they do run out of battery pretty quick. Depending on the game and the DualSense features being used, I see approximately 4 to 5, sometimes 3 hours of use before needing to recharge, which is another reason why having a second controller would be handy for those long sessions. Okay, so let's talk storage, because the PS5 Slim has actually seen some changes in this very recently. Now, the PS5 Slim Disc Edition ships with 1TB of internal storage, but the digital edition ships with 825GB of internal storage. Factor in unusable storage for things like the operating system and some functional apps and a few other things that the console needs, which you cannot delete. That's going to leave you with about 850GB for the disc version and roughly just under 700GB for the digital version. You could always expand your storage with an NVMe drive, but it's not something that I ever did. I always meant to, but I kept putting it off. And now with AI companies buying up RAM and storage, which is basically causing shortages and price increases, I just don't think it's worth it right now. So some things to manage storage. I've disabled the audio video capture of trophies that are not gold and platinum. I often go through and transfer any long video recordings saved to external storage, and I'll delete any media that I don't want to keep on hand. But the biggest thing is I often delete and reinstall games as I want to play them. This is incredibly annoying, don't get me wrong, but with my internet connection, it is manageable. However, I say this, but if you are someone who prefers to have a bunch of AAA titles installed all at once, you need to budget extra for an internal storage drive. While you can attach external drives, you cannot load and play PS5 games off them directly. You can only transfer to and from the console itself, which still takes time, so keep that all in mind. But yeah, look, the disc version of the PS5 Slim isn't the automatic go-to either. You do need an active internet connection at least once to register and activate the disc drive on first boot. You also do pay more for the disc version of the console up front, but the biggest reason, especially if you're, say, a creator like me, the sounds the disc drive makes while loading or reading discs is super loud. In fact, I've sometimes had to stop recording videos because I've forgotten my console on and the disc drive starts going all fast and furious on me. But at least it's not always as bad as the PS4's takeoff sounds. Okay, with all of that, you might be asking, what are some of the cons of buying a PS5 in 2026? Honestly, there isn't much, at least in my experience. Sure, there may be a few things that I find annoying, but there's not really any hardware failures or anything that's going to negatively impact your gaming experience, except for one main thing, and that is storage. In 2026, AI companies are buying up RAM and storage for their data centers. One of the world's major RAM manufacturers has even stopped manufacturing RAM for the retail sector. And all of this has caused a massive shortage and caused prices to drastically increase on these components. Nvidia has even mentioned that they're not going to release their 60 series gaming GPUs this year. In fact, they've even floated the idea to reproduce 30 series GPUs again for gamers, which are a few years old, because those GPUs don't need the same VRAM technology that's used in 40 and 50 series GPUs that the AI data centers need. This tells me that the increase in prices and the shortage of materials means that storage expansion is going to be staying expensive for quite a while. So if you are planning on expanding your storage past that 1 terabyte, just know that you are going to be paying a premium. But with that, there is something to think about. Based on previous trends, the PS6 would likely have been released in 2027. But taking into consideration the climate right now with component shortages, I think the PS6 is either not going to come out for a few more years, or it's going to be so much more expensive on release. Even Xbox have already come out to say that their next console is going to be a very premium, very high-end, curated experience, which to me translates to higher prices. So if you're waiting for the next generation, you're either going to be waiting a while or you're going to be paying a lot more. But anyway, after over a year with the PS5 Slim, is it worth buying one in 2026? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a PS5. Look, the storage situation, it's absolutely insane right now. Digital game prices, at least in Australia, are not ideal, and the disc drive can be loud at times, but you're still going to be getting a very reliable console. The game library is genuinely fantastic, and it's a lot more simple and straightforward than having a gaming PC. If you're considering jumping in now, you're going to be getting a mature platform with a great controller, you'll be getting stable performance, and a library of games that are genuinely worth playing. Sure, look, exclusives are becoming available across platforms these days, but there are still titles that are just on PS5. Just know that you're going to be managing storage, and if you want physical media or the hybrid approach like me, make sure that you grab the disc version because there's a lot of fun to be had with the PS5. And with the PS6 likely still being a while away or being very expensive when it does come out, now's actually a pretty good time to pick up a PS5 Slim. Anyways guys, that's it for this one. So drop a like if you enjoyed the video to let me know, and consider subscribing to the channel to become a part of our growing community on our road to 5K. Thank you very much for watching, as I really do appreciate it, and I'll catch you all right here next week.